Sawaba, everyone. I just finished a really big trip around Ghana, and I am here to share with you the 47 best things to do in this awesome country. Seriously, fairly small country, lots of things to do. Now, I've arranged them by region because that is going to make your life easier when you plan your trip here. And I do hope you will plan your trip here because, as I said, it's an awesome country, and I mean that. And because it gets the least amount of love, and I love it so much, I am going to start with the northern region. A lot of people come up to the north just to go to Mole National Park, and that's great because it is an awesome experience. And I have an entire video on that, so I'll put that link in the description because it's a really complete video if you're visiting there. But what you need to know about Mole National Park is they have both walking and jeep safaris, and your chances of having a close encounter, not dangerously close, but a close encounter with some of the wildlife near Mole National Park is pretty darn good. I mean, I found myself closer to warthogs and antelope and elephants than you would imagine. So yeah, definitely. If you are coming up, really try to leave yourself time, like at least one overnight, if not two, to do both a walking and a jeep safari at Mole National Park. Now, when you're at Mole, you are also going to want to go to a town called Larabanga. Why do I want to go to Larabanga, you might ask? You may or may not use that tone of voice, but you might ask. Well, Larabanga has two sites, and a lot of people just stop and see the mosque. The mosque in Larabanga is really cool. It's actually done in an old Sudanese style. And it is just a really interesting mosque to look at. Plus, there is a very interesting story about how and why it got established. The thing is, there's another part of the story, and that is at the Mystic Stone. So they're a little distance away. You'll need a little taxi ride, but you're going to want to go to the mosque and the Mystic Stone and get both stories and hear the whole thing because it's a really cool story, and they're both really cool structures and things to see. And there's no trouble going to Larabanga because it is it's the last town before you go into Mole National Park. So you're going to kind of be passing through anyways, whether you catch it on the way in or the way out or one afternoon, because it just takes an hour or two. And keep some small money in your pocket because you're going to need to pay some guides and some entrance fees and things like that. And they're all small fees, but you're going to want to have some small bills in your pocket. Oh, you didn't actually think I was just going to do some plain old listicle video and not include some travel tips, did you? You should know me better than that by now. And if you're a new viewer, thank you and welcome. Whether you arrive by plane or bus, on your way to Mole National Park, you are inevitably going to pass through the northern region's capital, Tamale. And the thing is, some people race through it and never see it. You don't want to do that. You want to spend a day or two or three here because there's a whole bunch of cool stuff to do. Would you be surprised to know that I've made a big video on that? So I'll link that in the description. But let me cover the best of the best things to do in Tamale. Number one, the National Cultural Center in Tamale is really awesome. In fact, I did a whole video on that too. But there are arts and crafts shops. They are crafts and handmade items from all around the region. And you'll even get some that are from neighboring countries, you know, like Burkina Faso and Mali and such like that. But they just have a whole lot of cool stuff going on there, and the people are really mellow and fun and nice to talk to. And there are some restaurants in there as well, and they're like local type restaurants, not fancy Western-y type restaurants. They're local restaurants. And if you're lucky, you'll get to see the Tama troupe rehearse, and they are a drum and dance cultural troupe, and they are really awesome. The best time to catch them is the last hour before sunset, Monday through Friday. But the schedule is not 100% all the time, so you'll just have to check on whatever days you're here. And do know that they don't rehearse during Ramadan. Number two would be Tamale's Central Market, and it is actually just a short distance from the cultural center. the central market here is really cool because it has an inner space if you like to dive in and get into a nice, nook and crook type of market, but there's a lot of outer space too. So if you aren't real sure about diving into deep in the market, you don't have to. There's plenty of stuff to see on the outer edge. I don't know about you, but I love visiting local markets. Number 3, if you have a proper guide, you can visit the chief's palace. And I will let you know that there are several chief's palaces in the area. There's a whole bunch of them, but there's a main one in the center of Tamale. Oh, the wind is whipping up. It is rainy season here, and storms can come and go. We're going to see. But if you visit the chief's palace, you have to do some things, like you need to take kola nuts as an offering, and Abdullah, or any guide, but Abdullah is really awesome, will take you to the market to get some kola nuts and then make a proper introduction for you at the palace, and then you'll get the full tour of everything they have to show you. It's one of those things you do on a trip that just adds another layer of texture and interest, and is something different that you probably don't have at home. Probably. And if the lighting changes through this video, I apologize, but it's like there's a cloud, then it's sunny, then there's cloud and it's sunny. You can kind of see in the back window behind me, but there's only so much I can do today, or this entire season for that matter. So I can't just wait for a sunny day, or I'd never get this filmed. So thank you for your patience. Number 4 on the list of things to do in Tamale is to visit local artisan workshops, whether it's pottery or textiles or shea butter or modern art. There are plenty of artists to see here. This is something you will need a guide for because the places are fairly far out, and some of the artists really don't speak English. They only speak their local language. So you just definitely need someone to go with you. And I'll put Abdullah's contact information in the description because he knows everybody. He knows this town like nobody's business. But that's what's really cool about the local artists, is you get to visit them in their homes. You get to see a little bit of village life and get a real taste for what they do. And number 5, one of the things you really want to do while you're here in Tamale is ride a yellow. Yes, it is just the local transport. It looks like it's just a tuk-tuk, and it is, but they are all sorts of fun, and they are the best way to get around town. So when you're getting around on your own, you just flag one down and tell them where you want to go, and you go. You want to ride a yellow while you're here. When you're here, you'll understand. They are just everywhere. But it's definitely one of the experiences you want to do when you're in Tamale. And there's actually even more to do in Tamale, but if I try to put everything in my best of list, well, this would take forever. So check out the longer video if you're interested. Now, one of the things that most tourists don't do when they come up to the northern area is they don't go further up north to Bolgatanga, Paga, and Gambaga. And let me explain. You're going to want to go on a market day. And there are 2 markets in Bolgatanga on that day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. The one in the morning starts really early, and it's the basket market. And I mean, it's closing between 9 and 10 a.m. So that's closing time. So you got to get there really early. But Bolgatanga is like the center of basket making for the region. I mean, it is, they make really awesome stuff there. So you are going to want to go check them out. Then you take the 40-minute drive up to Paga, which is near the border with Burkina Faso, and you visit the chief's crocodile pond. And for a small fee, they will bring out a treat for the crocodile and summon one to the shore for you. And you can, shall we say, interact with it. Different people do different things, but as I've learned from other crocodile petting places, just avoid the head. And then you stop for lunch somewhere, either in Paga or Bolga, and then in the afternoon, you go and you visit the local market. And the local market in Bolga is kind of a riot. I mean, I had a whole lot of fun the day I went, and there were like sheep running through, and there was a cow, and there were people everywhere. And it was just a really fun market to visit. And it is a big one. So just wander through at whatever pace makes you comfortable. But just know it's a real easy market to wander through too. Now, if you want, you can do that in one day and go back to Tamale and start super early and do that all in one day and be back by nightfall. But if you spend an overnight, then on the way back the next day, you can go to Gambaga, which is a witchcraft village. And it has people from all over the region, and I mean not just northern Ghana, but all the neighboring countries as well, that have been accused of witchcraft. And unfortunately, this makes them outcasts. And they have this village where the people in the surrounding town have accepted them, and they don't hassle them, they don't harass them or anything. But this little village of people, they're still kind of outcasts. So they really appreciate when you visit, because of course you make a donation and it helps the entire village. Now, I already mentioned that in Tamale, the yellows are the easiest and best way to get around, and I love them. But in every other place I'm going to mention, Bolt is probably your better option. Bolt, B-O-L-T. And it's like Uber, but it's Bolt, because not every town has the yellows. The one thing you need to know is, even though you can put a credit card on file, you are going to want to use cash, and make sure it reads that you're using cash, because some drivers, once they see that you're paying with credit card, they won't show up. They need the cash in hand. So still plan to pay cash, and make sure the app is showing that you're paying cash, and you'll be well set for using Bolt in any other city. And there's the perfect segue for me to jump to the next city, Kumasi. Ta-da! Okay, we are going to Kumasi, and that's why the wardrobe changed, because I bought this fabric in Kumasi at Kajetia Market, which we'll get to in a minute. But Kumasi is Ghana's second largest city, and it is the center of Ashanti culture. And it feels entirely different from Accra, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, of course. But from what I can tell, it's a little bit of an LA, New York kind of vibe, with Kumasi actually being New York and Accra being LA. I can vouch for the LA and Accra. I haven't been to New York, so I don't know how much Kumasi is like New York, but that's what I'm told. By the way, on this video, I'm playing around with the title screens a little bit. I would love to know, which is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. So for Kumasi, let's start with the city tour. This list is all the things you would want to do if you were going on a very thorough city tour in Kumasi. And while you can hire a tour company and have them take you around to all these places, you can also just take a Bolt. All the places on this list are places you could go, take a Bolt, stay as long as you want, order the next Bolt, and take the next one and the next one. And I'm going to be honest with you, if you get stuck in traffic, well, you can either get stuck in traffic in the tour company's car or in a Bolt. It doesn't matter. You're still stuck. Kumasi has a smaller center where all the traffic happens. If you get stuck in it, you can really be stuck in it, but it is a smaller radius than Accra. Accra is all traffic. I'll get to that later. But doing the tour on your own lets you set your own pace, and that's my preferred way to go. There are two places on this city tour that I want to highlight here. The first is the Manshia Palace Museum. They don't allow pictures inside, so I couldn't show you any of that, but it is a really good tour covering Ashanti history and culture. The extra exciting part for me, though, is the courtyard across the way, where you get to see peacocks. And they're walking around, and you can get pretty close to them, and sometimes they'll even put on a show for you. This was actually a really nice way to just spend a little time and relax and watch the peacocks. The other place I want to highlight is Kajetia Market and the Central Market. I've already told you I love a good market. Kajetia used to be the kind of old style market you'd think of for Africa, and it was with all the tin roofs, and it was just this sprawling market. It was once considered the largest in West Africa. And then they moved it into this like transportation hub warehouse. I think it looks like it was a place where they used to like store the buses or something like that. But they moved it here. And then I was informed, I thought they moved it permanently, but the original spot is supposed to be getting rebuilt. However, the project is delayed. So here it remains. And I will tell you, it is actually a whole lot easier to navigate in this transportation hub than the original market. Because when I was here like 20 years ago, it was really crowded and tight and intimidating. So this giant transportation hub has worked really well. And then you have the central market, which I think the divider is the Kajetia market is inside, and the central market is everything that spills out on the streets around it. And if you're more local and you know better than I do, let me know. But the central market on the outside is a different adventure entirely. It has just a different vibe. And if you like markets, you can just go from one to the other and spend the whole day marketing and having fun and finding cool stuff to buy, like fabrics, but all sorts of other stuff as well. They just have everything there. For these next activities, we are going to have to go outside of Kumasi. You're still going to want to have Kumasi as your base, but these are right and proper day trips. One thing the Kumasi area is known for is kente cloth, and that's this pattern right here. This is an actual kente, but this pattern you might have seen. But the thing is, I am going to give you a double header for Ghanaian textiles for this day trip. The first place you want to go, you're going to have to hire a driver either way. So the first place you want to go is Bonwire. Bonwire has a weaving center, and now they have just recently opened the Kente Museum. Now, the weaving center has been there forever, and they will give you a bunch of information, and they'll let you try out the weaving, and it's a good place to go. But I will say, there's kind of a high expectation of you buying when you visit the weaving center. If they see a tourist, they sort of expect you to buy. Just being honest with you there. When I went to the museum, which had only been open a few days when I went, they still give all the same information on the tour. They're still incredibly well informed and great at what they do. But it was a little bit younger, fresher feel at the museum. And consequently, there were also, while they were hopeful that you would buy, there was no pressure to buy. So if I'm being really honest, I like the museum a little bit better. But if you're going to Bonwire, go ahead and do both and experience both, because that just gives you more choices. And if you're out for the day, you're out for the day. Oh, and by the way, at the Kente Museum, my guide Emmanuel was awesome. And I'm going to put his contact information, because not only do you want to ask for him if you go there, which I highly recommend, but even if you're not coming to Ghana anytime soon, you might be able to arrange to have him send you some kente. So I'll put his contact information in the description as well. Now, that's about an hour drive from Kumasi. Then about an hour drive from Bonwire is a town called Ntonso. And there you can go to a place where they do Adinkra fabric printing. Okay, and the guy will give you the full tour. He'll show you how everything works, and you'll get to see the whole process from beginning to end. And the Adinkra symbols all have very specific meanings. Okay, and they have the whole list of meanings, and they know what they all mean. And then if you want to, you can print your own Adinkra cloth. My one clue will be place the stamps where you want. Sometimes they sort of guide you to place them a little far apart, and then you don't get too many stamps. Place them however you want and just do it your own way. But they'll let you choose by symbol, and then you can print anything you want. And it's a really cool experience. And then you get two sides of the textile story and not just kente cloth. If you're hiring a driver anyways, you might as well do both of these stops. I've got a little dove here that's come over to land on my railing and say hi. Hello. Hello. The doves here know that I'm friendly. I saved one of them once that accidentally got in my apartment. So I think they've got me tagged as friendly. So if you're interested in Ghanaian textiles at all, don't miss these two villages. And there's one more place you can get to from Kumasi, and that's Kintampo Falls. Now, I actually haven't been to Kintampo Falls, but that's because it's halfway between Kumasi and Tamale. And I plan to go, and I will be making a video about it. So don't worry, you will get a video on that. But honestly, some of the best waterfalls in Ghana are in the Volta region. So let's go there next. So you might notice I didn't change my shirt for this segment. And that's because I didn't buy any fabrics in the Volta region. And it's not that they might not have some to buy, but I wasn't there for markets and that sort of thing. And also, by the time I got there in my trip, I had already bought 10 fabrics. So I was up to here in fabric by the time I got to Volta region. But don't worry, there's still more new shirts to come. The Volta region is all about nature. Beautiful landscapes, a bunch of waterfalls, the tallest mountain in Ghana, Lake Volta, and they even have a couple of non-naturey, semi-naturey things. Because they actually have a monkey sanctuary, which I guess is a nature thing. And then they have a Kente village, which I already mentioned, which I'll show you too. Let's start with the waterfalls. There's Wheelie Waterfalls, Tagbo Waterfalls, Ote Waterfall has a rope canopy walkway, and a Flabo Falls. There might even be a few more in there, but those were the ones I was able to find. Of those, I hiked to Lower Wheelie Falls. And I say that because if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm lousy at hiking. Okay, for normal people, they say it takes about 45 minutes. It's like a 2.2 kilometer hike with a small elevation gain. The thing is, me being bad at hiking, it took me about an hour and 15 minutes. It's only 2.2 kilometers, and I'll be honest with you, on a regular street walk, I can knock that out, no problem. But on a mountain, that's another story. But it's a beautiful walk, and the falls are fantastic. You get up there, and you're hot and sweaty, and then you can just wade through this beautiful clear water, and the falls are magnificent, and it is very much well worth it. And on the way up, you have the option of taking the route for the upper falls, which adds another 2 hours. Yeah, that's a no for me. But you might want to do it because that makes you going up to the highest waterfall in West Africa. And I can only imagine how magnificent that view is. Oh, and by the way, this footage is actually from the middle of dry season. So if it's dry season, don't be afraid to go anyways, because it is still a magnificent waterfall. But when you get up there and the pool is nice, just know there's no place to change clothes. So if you plan to swim, wear your swimwear under your clothes. And also you are going to want submergible sandals, don't bring the leather. You want submergible sandals or shoes so that you can walk around on the rocky bottom without hurting your feet. I had my trusty Tevas, and since I did a full review on the Tevas, if you want an awesome pair of sandals, you can check that out. I will put that link in the description as well. But I can highly recommend Wheelie Falls, even if you're a hiker like me. It's worth the effort. And it's at this point in the recording that a technical glitch was discovered after lunch. Once it started to rain, it's been 2 days, and now we're back at it. So you get a little different sky in the background today. Not far from Wheelie Falls is Ghana's tallest mountain, Mount Afajato. I'm working on that one. It might be Afajato. I know it's not Afajado. That's wrong. So I'm going to say Afajato, I hope. Yeah, it's just a little short drive, and you can go look at it like I did. So I am going to point at it and say, if you are a super nature mountain hiker kind of person, go for it. But it is a 4 to 5 hour hike for normal people. So, you know, for me, that needs to be no. But yeah, if you like mountain hiking and climbing and all that, you can check out Mount Afajato. And then there's another mountain, Mount Jemmy, in the area, and I understand that has some good hikes and really cool stuff going on too. Now, if you find yourself in the Volta region and you don't feel like hiking, you can go to the Tafi Atome Monkey Sanctuary. This is actually the second sanctuary I've been to where you could feed the monkeys. And the other one was in the Gambia, and I'm going to link a video because even though it's a whole other country, it was a whole lot of fun, and the video is really cool. So yeah, you can feed the monkeys, as you can see, and it's all sorts of fun. You know, there are some monkeys to be concerned about sometimes, but these aren't them. These monkeys pretty much know how to behave, and you're just going to have a good time. Just don't give them the whole banana at one time. You know, hold on to it and make them take a few separate bites. So you don't just lose all your bananas in one shot. In fact, I say, whatever they offer you to buy in bananas, consider buying double, just so you get double the fun. And the other thing you can do on this excursion is you go back out to the main road and go about the same distance down this other road, and you get to the Tafi Abwithe Kente village. And I'm going to tell you a little tip. When you first arrive, there's like a building there, and there might not be anyone there. Maybe there will, maybe there won't. But if there's not, you ask around and someone will find the person who's there to come be your guide. Be patient. They don't get the steady stream of tourists as they do in Bonwire. The kente in Tafi Abuife is Ewe patterns and colors. And the thing is, the Ewe tribe originated kente cloth. So they will tell you their story and their history with it, and they'll show you around and give you full demonstration, and it's a great tour. The nice thing about here is that it's very low pressure. And then when you do return to where the shop was to look, they're not going to pressure you, but you know what? They're so nice, you're going to want to buy something from them. And I'll tell you one secret, it's a lot cheaper here. Now, it is different colors and patterns, so if you see something you love in Bonwire, get it, because you're not going to see the same stuff over here. But I'll let you know, the prices are a lot better in Tafi Abuife than in Bonwire. So now, let's look at the second most visited city in Ghana, and that would be Cape Coast. Cape Coast is a very rich destination. There is nature and culture and history and beaches. And oh, have I mentioned that I did a very complete video on Cape Coast and Elmina? I'll link it in the description. Going to be a lot of links in this video. And there's seriously a whole lot of things to do, but we are focusing on the best of in this video. So I'm going to focus on Cape Coast and Elmina castles, the Posaban Shrine, which are a little favorite side quest of mine, and the Kakum Rope Canopy Walkway. First off, the slave castles. Cape Coast and Elmina castles are about 11 kilometers apart, and they're different enough that they're definitely both worth a visit. But when you come to Ghana, you should at least visit one of them. Going through the tour, hearing the stories, and seeing the place people were kept before they were shipped off to a life of slavery in another world will have an impact on you. It's important to understand what really happened here. The more people that understand this can only move to help make the world a better place. So make sure you do the important stuff. But then there's the fun stuff to do in Cape Coast. And one of the most fun and one of the biggest attractions is Kakum National Park. After a small hike up the mountain, you get to play Indiana Jones to your heart's content. Okay, but don't worry, it is not as wobbly as the one in the movie. And if you get nervous, there's a shortcut out. But to be honest, the rope canopy walkway is all sorts of fun. You're up there traipsing through the treetops, and it's just all sorts of fun. If you're questioning whether or not to do Kakum National Park, definitely do it. Then there's the ultimate side quest in the Cape Coast area, and that is for Posaban.
Side quest.
Posaban are structures that used to be used by the villages as the meeting point for the town militias, the Asafo companies. And today, dang rooster, and today they are still meeting points and important places, the ones that are still kept up. And they are just fun. They are dotted all around the Cape Coast area. And I'll tell you, my friend Junior knows where they all are. In fact, he knows everyone and everything in Cape Coast. I mean, seriously, he's driving down the street and everyone's like, hey, hi, how you doing? So I'm going to put his contact information, because if you are in Cape Coast, there's going to be things you need a driver for, and he is the absolute best. Okay. Will you be quiet? I'm going to call that rooster dinner. So some of the Posaban are small. So some of the Posaban are smaller, and some are big and have a whole bunch of stories attached to them. And, you know, if you're only going to go for one Posaban, go for the one at Mankesim. It's a little bit of a drive, but when you get there, there's usually a storyteller to tell you all the stories. They'll tell you how they came to Mankesim and all the stories that are told with those and all the stories that are told within those statues, because they all have meaning and moral, and it's a really cool place to check out. Just make sure you tip the storyteller well, because he deserves it. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed, but this is my Cape Coast shirt. Next up is actually a little ways outside of Cape Coast. It's about a 2.5-hour drive, and it's way out on the west coast, almost to Côte d'Ivoire, almost. And you can get tricky and take public transit and a Trotro to here and then switch there, or you can just have Junior drive you. But the place I'm talking about is Nzulezu, and it also might be pronounced Nzulezo. Okay, I've heard both pronunciations, so it's a stilt village, and it's built on a lake, and it's 500 years old. It's over 500 years old, and they originally settled there for protection. You know, if you're built on a lake, there's only one way the enemy could approach you, and you're going to see them coming. Okay, so you get to Bayin, which is the landside town, and then you take a boat ride, and they now have a motorboat. I've done the canoe thing, but they now have a motorboat out to the village. And you can either just take the tour and spend the afternoon, or you can stay overnight in the guest house. Now, if you stay overnight in the guest house, just be aware, the last time I was there and I did that, the bathroom was separate from the guest house, and you kind of had to walk over this bamboo walkway, which was fine. It was all very stable. But if you have to do that at night, make sure you take a flashlight so you don't end up doing a midnight swim. That's my one bit of advice for that. For more in the Cape Coast area, definitely check out my bigger video, because this is just a greatest hits. There is so much stuff to do in Cape Coast, you don't want to miss it. And now for the big one, Accra. It's almost impossible to come to Ghana and not spend some time in Accra. And that's why I wrote a city guide, an opinionated city guide of Accra. And of course, I will put a link in the description. For this best of video, I am going to start with the Accra city tour. I'm thinking about making an in-depth video on this. Let me know if you'd like to see that. For a really complete city tour, you'll want to put all these places on your list. I've been to every one of them and done all the tours, and they're all good. There's not a dud in sight. However, you can customize this list to your tastes and the time you have. An early start is good, but don't start so early that you hit the morning rush hour. Traffic in Accra is bad. It's worse than LA. The good thing is that these places are fairly close together, so once you're in the area, you never have far to go. There are two pretty much must-visit places on this list. The first is Independence Square. Independence Square consists of Black Star Gate and Independence Arch. Together, these represent Ghana's struggle for freedom and independence. This place is iconic, and you definitely want to get a few selfies here. You can even climb to the top of Black Star Gate for a great view and an up-close and personal with the Black Star itself. And if you're wondering, it's only 60 steps to the top, and it's a good staircase, so not too difficult at all. If you decide to go up, there is a small maintenance fee that you'll have to give to the guys at the bottom, but it's well worth it. Oh, and when you're taking your pics over at Independence Arch, beware of the hawkers. They will try to sell you everything. They're friendly, but relentless. The other stop I highly recommend is Makola Market. That's where I got this fabric. If you've never been to a local African market, it's an experience not to miss. And Makola is the biggest market in Accra. And no matter how much video I show you, this is a place where the sights and smells and the feel of the place can really only be experienced when you're there. And it is so much fun to wander. I'll give you a little tip, is that usually if you get dropped off by a Bolt or a taxi, they'll drop you off on this main drag where the cars go through. As you're wandering around, try and keep track of where that main street is in relation to where you're wandering, just so you can get back to it easily, because that's how you're going to get a taxi to get out. And if you do lose track of it, just ask. The vendors are really awesome, and they'll be happy to help you. Oh, and if you're staying in the Adenta or Medina area, the Medina market over there is also a really awesome local market. It's a little smaller, it's more manageable, and honestly, it's actually my favorite. I think I like the more manageable size. If I want to just go in and find something and get out, it's really easy to do. So if you're on that side of Accra, don't hesitate to check out Medina Market. It's another great local experience. If you're going to cut your city tour short, your next choices will depend on your interests. If you're interested in civil rights and African American history, you're going to want to go to the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum. I always thought it was Dubois, but they say it Du Bois. He was a major civil rights leader and spent some of his last years in Ghana, and that's why there's a history here. It's a really good tour. And that's the reason for this shirt, because see the web? See the spider web there? That's for him, W.E.B. web. So that's where I got this fabric. And if you're more interested in Ghana's political history, you're going to want to go to the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Center. Kwame Nkrumah led Ghana's independence movement and became the prime minister and first president of Ghana. Under his guidance, Ghana was the first African country to break free from colonial rule. If you're interested in a mix of Ghanaian history and art and culture, then you're going to want to go to the National Museum. When I visited in 2003, the National Museum was in the same spot, but I'll be honest, the displays were all dusty and old, and it really wasn't very impressive. But now, it has had a wonderful makeover, and it is modernized all the way down to having QR codes if you want more information. This is definitely a nice museum to visit. And if you like arts and crafts or you just need some souvenirs, go to the National Cultural Center. However, if you're coming up to Tamale, make sure you leave a little room in your suitcase because the Cultural Center up here has different stuff and is a little lower pressure. Honestly, whether it's up north or down south, I love all the arts and crafts in Ghana. So that's the city tour. But there is so much more to do in Accra. Let's go to the beach next. There are 3 major beaches in Accra that everyone talks about, and I'm going to give you the quick lowdown on all 3. The first is Labadi Beach, and it is the party beach. However, when I went, it was middle of the afternoon, and the party hadn't started yet. Thing is, I had a nice lunch, I had a bunch of people try and sell me things, and I could have taken a horse ride if I wanted. It's a nice beach. I can imagine when the party gets started, it's a whole lot of fun. The party goes long into the night. Ghanaians party long into the night. So I think the party starts sometime after dinner and goes till no one's awake anymore. So that's your party beach. The next beach everyone is talking about is Bojo Beach. And honestly, I'm not quite sure I get the appeal. Sure, there aren't any hawkers. And it's quiet. I'll say it's quiet, but it's kind of hard to get to. The food is mediocre, and it's kind of boring. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. And I only put it on this best of because a lot of people are talking about it, and I just got to be really honest with this one, is if you like peace and quiet, it may be the way to go. But if peace and quiet aren't quite your thing, you might want to check out Kokrobite. Now, I asked to go to Kokrobite Beach, and the taxi driver took me to Big Millie's backyard. So I never actually made it to see the waves and that. I could hear them, but I couldn't quite see them. But Big Millie's backyard has been a backpacker traveler stop forever. And it was fun. There was entertainment, awesome entertainment the whole time. There was good food. Things were reasonably priced. It was an awesome afternoon, and I highly recommend Big Millie's backyard. And to be honest, I have actually been told that the beach at Kokrobite is really good too. So I'm all in for Kokrobite. Now we're going to make a quick stop at the mall. I actually went to 3 malls in Accra, but for this best of list, there's only one really worth mentioning, and that's Accra Mall. It is a big, shiny, modern mall. It has a food court with a bunch of choices for food, all different types of food. There's a nice little room for ATMs that are very foreign card friendly. There's a theater up top. There are some stores will be familiar maybe, depending on where you're from, of course, but there's a Skechers and there's an Apple store and there's a Samsung store. And so you have all the modern stuff, but then you also have a pharmacy, a grocery store, and a beauty salon, and everything else. The nice thing is that with all these things to do, it's not a huge mall. You are not going to get exhausted walking all over the place, all around it. It is compact, but extensive, if that makes sense. And it's not crowded. It's just a very comfortable mall to walk through. And I'll tell you something, my teenage years were spent in the mall. So I know my malls. We had 3 big ones in my hometown. I know my malls. And Accra Mall is awesome. And while we're talking about Western-friendly places, let's talk about Oxford Street in the Osu neighborhood of Accra. I actually have a full video where I pretended to be a newbie tourist, and you get to see the reactions of the vendors. So you're going to want to watch that one. Oxford Street is a fun place, day or night. There's a mix of roadside craft stores, and then there's a street market, and there are banks that are friendly to foreign ATM cards, and there's electronics stores, and there are Westerner-friendly restaurants and hotels, and there's even a Western-style grocery store. So it's a favorite hangout for tourists and expats. And as I say, I pretended to be a tourist, and you'll love the reactions I got. I did get this fabric, if you notice the new wardrobe change, on Oxford Street. I actually bought 2 fabrics while I was there because the guys I met were fantastic. But I've worn the other shirt in some other videos, so I decided to show this one off today. I will say, when you're dealing with the street vendors, bargain hard, because they are quick to assume that you're a rich newbie tourist, and the prices go up accordingly. So be smart. In addition to all the restaurants and such in the area, there's also a lot of bars and nightclubs, and this area is known as a bit of a party area. Now, I'm not a nightlife person. I never have been. So I don't have a direct report on the nightlife, but I have had a hotel in the area, and I can hear it going all night long. So that's something to consider. If you're planning on staying in the area, you might want to ask the hotel how soundproofed their things are. And there are other party neighborhoods in Accra. So if you're interested in the nightlife party scene, ask at your hotel and tell them what kind of thing you're looking for, and they'll be able to put you in the right direction. But I've seen some of them during the day, and Oxford Street definitely has some cool places to party. Next on the list is the kind of tour that I really appreciate. I'm usually happy and content to walk around places on my own and discover them, and I don't mind being the outcast that everyone stares at, and that's fine with me. But the Jamestown walking tour takes you to Jamestown in a way that I guarantee I wouldn't have been able to wander around on my own and find the places that I get to see. Plus, the guide gives you a lot of history and perspective, which is really valuable, and it's a nice way to see this part of the city. Now, the tour takes place on Saturdays at 2 p.m., but you can arrange for a private tour, and you just have to contact them. And of course, I'll put the link in the description. You just have to contact them and work out a time that works best for you. Oh, now the next place on the list is a relatively new place to go in Accra. It just opened in 2021, and it hasn't gotten a ton of attention yet, and that's the National Mosque. The really nice thing is that, the mosque is a gorgeous building. You can see it from far away when you're driving up to it, and you can tell from there that it's gorgeous, and you get up close and it's even more gorgeous. But the nice thing is that they let non-Muslims inside, which most mosques don't do. And so you actually get to go inside and see everything. And it's really just beautiful and fantastic, and definitely worth your time. You should know that you will need to remove your shoes, and women may be asked to cover their hair. So plan accordingly. But this is definitely one of those architectural things that is really worth seeing. The next 2 places are day trips out of Accra, and these are also very much worth your time. The first is Aburi Botanical Gardens. The grounds are beautiful, the plants and trees are interesting, and the tour is really great. It's very interactive. You get to smell things and taste things, and they have this fungus tree that is the absolute best. And no, that is not nearly as gross as it sounds. And if you're interested in taking a trotro while you're in Accra, now you can always take within the city trotro and hop on anytime you want, but the ride up to Aburi is actually really kind of nice. And if you don't know what a trotro is, it's a minivan where they pack a bunch of people in. They have a reputation, but the one up to Aburi, you go up this nice curvy mountain, and one of the nicest things is you're not going to get stuck in traffic. And when you come out, you just hail one that's going down the mountain and make your way back. Depending on where you are staying, just ask at your hotel how you would catch a trotro to get to Aburi Botanical Gardens. Or you can arrange for a driver, of course. I do go into a lot more detail about how to do this in Accra, the Opinionated City Guide. So check it out. This other day trip is to a town called Ada. Don't call it Ada. I made that mistake and they were like, what are you talking about? And someone figured out it was Ada. Okay, and that is to the Chin Chin Museum. Yes, those letters are pronounced Chin Chin. This museum was created by the legendary Ghanaian artist Kwame Akoto Bamfo. And it's not just a museum. It is this journey into the heart and soul of African history and heritage. And it's also an artist colony where there's a lot of ongoing projects in all stages of creation. There are a few things you should know. One is that the full tour is 90 minutes long and it has a significant amount of walking in it. Worth it, but there's a fair amount of walking. Two, the museum is really far off the main road. There's a sign at the main road, and then you drive and you drive and you drive, and you get to a village, and you turn left, and you keep driving and driving and driving. And when you get there, you can't miss it. But until then, you start wondering, am I going the right way? But yeah, so it's really far off the main road, but it's really also not that hard to get to. And third, you'll want to arrange a driver that will wait for you and take you back to Accra, because Bolt doesn't work in Ada, and so no driver is going to want to go out and not have a full fare return trip. So plan the whole thing in one shot. If you're interested in going to some of the beach resorts and such in Ada, I talk about that in my city guide as well. By the way, several of the last things I've mentioned appear in my video, Hidden Gems of Accra, and I go into a little more detail about them. So I will leave a link for you to check that out as well. Festivals happen all around Ghana, and many are on a local or floating calendar. So there's no way I'm going to cover them all. But if you find yourself able to visit during a festival, or maybe find yourself in the middle of one, whether you knew it was going on or not, you definitely want to participate if you can, because Ghanaians know how to party. They know how to have fun, and they will be happy to have you join in. These are a few of my favorite festivals. The Fire Festival takes place in the northern region, and I've always gone in Tamale, and it is a really fun festival. It usually takes place in late July. You shouldn't feel shy about joining this one, but depending on where you join, you may have to ask the chief or the sub-chief for permission to join, and they will of course let you do so, but you might have to go through a little ceremony to ask proper permission. And don't worry about all the fire floating around. It is not nearly as dangerous as some might think. Some people do wet their clothes down, I will tell you that. And I will say, don't wear your absolute favorite clothes. But I have never had anything but an awesome time at the Fire Festival. Next up is the Ogwa Fetu Afashe that happens in Cape Coast in September. This festival actually lasts 5 days. It includes traditional dances, boat races, the procession of Durbers, and Orange Friday. And whether you go for 1 day or all 5, just be ready to party hardy. This one moves all around the town, and there are events. Some are in the morning, some are in the night. And really the best thing to do is just call my friend Junior, because he keeps tabs on everything that's going on. As I say, he knows everyone in town, and he will make sure you get the lowdown and get to all the best places to celebrate this festival. It's a big one, and it will really give you a look into Ghanaian culture. Last but not least is Toddy Fest, and this happens on the 26th and 27th of December. And the point of this festival is there are these brass bands and they're dancers, and they all dress up in these awesome wild costumes, and they go and they compete for the best prize of who's the best band, who are the best dancers, and all that. The first day, there is a parade route, but they approach it in a very staggered manner. So it goes all day and night. So camp out, stay as long as you want, see as many as you want. But then the next day, in the center of town, they have a whole thing set up. And if you want to go a little early, you can get in the grandstand for a very small fee. And so you have a nice place to sit and you can watch the big show. The big show is all the bands coming by and showing off their best music, their best dancing, the best costumes, and they just really put it all out there. Now, I will tell you that it doesn't start till like late afternoon, evening, so don't go there too early. And the party does go all night long, so just stay as long as you feel like it, and you are gonna have a good time. Did I mention that Toddy Fest is in Takoradi? Because if I didn't, Toddy Fest is in Takoradi. Whew! So there's your best of Ghana. I really do hope that you will come to Ghana one day and see everything that this awesome country has to offer. I can guarantee it will be the trip of a lifetime. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.